Welcome along to Scottish Football Extra. We are back with you tonight in Aberdeen. No game last week, feels like it's been a while, but good to see you all again. Ali McCoist, Michael Stewart with us tonight, Stephen Craigan and Chris Sutton as well. We should start by saying well done to Celtic since we've last been live. They've won their 8th title in a row. Well deserved as well, Chris.
Well done, Celtic.
Would you like to expand?
Look, it's job done. You know, Neil Lennon came in. You know, there was a healthy gap. Which he had, but it was, only a job really he could, or the perception was only a job he could really mess up. He's got over the line, and I don't think Celtic have been anywhere near their best this season, but they have shown a lot of character. They've dug in. They've shown all the right traits, and 8 in a row, thoroughly deserve it. I think that Rangers have missed a trick this season. I think they should have pushed them, closer, and had. They not had a couple of blips. This would have been going right to the wire.
They were good in periods of this game last week here when they got the job done. 3-0.
Yeah, I think so. I also think Aberdeen missed a couple of chances early on watching the game. Roy Wilson had a couple of real chances. But listen, make no mistake about it, Chris is spot on. The best team has won the league again. And Neil deserves enormous congratulations, because the easiest thing to sit and say, well, Brendan left him a lead. It took a little bit of nerve to take on the job, and he got the job completed.
And it's not easy to lose a manager at that point in the season.
No, of course it's not. I take Chris's point. I don't think the level or quality or standard of football from Celtic has been the same as it has been in previous years, but they've thoroughly deserved to win the title.
That's something that's not just related to Neil Lennon's time. I think everybody recognises that this season, the start of the season, it wasn't as fluid under Brendan Rodgers as it had been before. He made some changes in January which I think definitely helped the side. They brought in a few different attacking threats. Oliver Burke, when he brought him and played him as a number 9, he stretched the opponents. For a time Celtic were struggling to break teams down. Neil Lennon came in, there was a number of injuries, but the team started to come back together. But it still hasn't been fluid. They've struggled to break teams down. But I think that resulting performance last week against Aberdeen here showed that the level they were reaching there is probably as good, and I think Neil Lennon said it himself, as good as any in his time since he's come back.
Callum McGregor has said this week, look, it's not all bad, they're going for another treble. Why are so many people down on Celtic?
I think because of the level of performance over the past couple of seasons. People expect that to continue. But I think since Neil's come in, there's been a little bit of tension around getting that first goal. And the game here last week summed it up for me. When they got the first goal, they almost looked as if they relaxed. There was a fear that at times they couldn't break teams down because they were sitting deep, hard to play against. Once they get the first goal, they look a different side. They go to the Old Firm game free. They've won the title. I expect them to be open. I expect it to be a cracking game.
OK, before we start the previews, a quick look at the top 6, then the standings. Celtic now champions, of course, 9 points clear of Rangers. Killie third, ahead of the Dons on goal difference. Hibs come next. Their European hopes were ended last weekend in Hearts. Trail their Edinburgh rivals by 3 points. Tomorrow, just one fixture in the top 6. Kilmarnock v Hibs on Sunday. It is the Old Firm at Ibrox, and that is where we go now. It's the 4th and final meeting between the teams this season. So far, 2 wins for Celtic, 1 victory for Rangers, and both the managers have spoken to the press. So let's get their thoughts now, and we'll start with Neil Lennon.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to the game as champions. Obviously we're in great form, so it's a game that I think everyone's looking forward to. No more so than myself. It's been a while since I've been in the dugout at Ibrox with Celtic, so it's always a good occasion to look forward to.
Well, to be honest with you, after the last Old Firm, which we played really well in, and we felt as if we should have took something from the game, I think we've obviously stressed the importance to try and finish the season as strong as we can and really focus on this season. We can worry about next season when we need to. Obviously the word discipline has come up a lot of times this season, come up in the last game as well, so it's very, very important, it's crucial, it's vital that we have a level of discipline and we keep players on the pitch, important players.
It's not my problem that they've got a huge disciplinary problem, and if it manifests itself again on Sunday, then we'll try and take advantage of that.
If we don't improve our discipline, I predict we could have a similar season to this season, because there's no way you can be successful if your big players are missing for big games.
If we win, will it have any bearing on the championship next season? It's 2 big teams going at it. It's the next Celtic Rangers episode, and it's the most important one because it's the next one.
They've decided there won't be a guard of honour, so I think my thoughts on it are irrelevant. I'll follow what I'm told to do by the people that are in charge of the club.
There has been a bit of a hoo-ha this week about this guard of honour. Club decision, Stephen Gerrard made that very clear to the press. Have the club made the right call on this?
People have different opinions on it, Darryl. It's immaterial to me, really, to be 100% honest. I think the bigger problem is I don't think there's the same respect between the two clubs that has always been there.
We saw that in the last meeting, didn't we? Post-match in particular.
Absolutely. I think that's a bigger problem. In my time being involved with Rangers, whether as a player, a manager or a coach, there has always been, as there should be, a healthy respect between the clubs. And I don't feel that's there at this moment in time. And I'm not going to start pointing fingers and saying it's so-and-so's fault or somebody else's fault, but I would rather they sorted it out, and for the greater the good of the game, they got together again and had a healthy respect for each other, because I don't think it's there like it once was.
Chris, do you worry there could be a knock-on effect from this? This is still fresh in the memories for a lot of the players. These scenes are not good to see, are they?
No, but they're always hotly contested affairs. That's always been the case. Both teams will be going toe to toe, regards to the guard of honour. Rangers probably should have given a guard of honour, but really, there are more important things to worry about in the world. I mean, I couldn't care less. If it was flipped and Rangers had won the title, would be asking, should Celtic do it? I mean, it's insignificant. Celtic players don't care. Rangers players don't care.
Storming
Let's just move on.
Storming a teacup.
Not a teacup. That would have been interesting.
What was that? Yeah.
Teacup.
I was close to a key cup.
I think I just about had it. I tried to get a word in edgeways again. That's the problem. Let's get to the game then. Look, it is still important. They're always important. But when you think Neil Lennon, the job situation as well, if you hear what Gary McAllister's had to say this week and Stephen Gerrard as well, they say that could have a bearing on next season if Rangers get this victory.
Well, I mean, look, from Neil Lennon's perspective, I think, we talk about the way that they've played since Neil's been there, and I think there's been an element of the uncertainty around his position and within himself. I think that's transferred into the players a little bit. They've now won that title, and I think they will just sort of loosen up a little bit, and they're going into that game obviously, and they'll want to make sure that they put right what happened in December, when Rangers absolutely dominated them. And for Rangers, it'll be a continuation of that, wanting to get back and put in a performance like they did at the tail end of last year, when they, as we said, it was only the one goal, but they absolutely dominated the game and were deserved winners. And they'll be wanting to do that to finish the season well, as I heard Stephen Gerrard in that interview there, but also to put down markers for next season as well. There's no doubt about that.
Listen, that was their best performance of the season, without
Not
a doubt.
been enough of that.
The problem is backing it up. They're now suddenly hit their best run of form, 5 wins in a row. It's too late. Although they will want to win tomorrow, the two opportunities to really put pressure on Celtic throughout the season, they went top of the league early December, they went joint top at the end of December, and they couldn't back it up. They weren't ruthless enough. And that's why he needs 3 or 4 players in to affect his first 11, not a squad, his first 11, to really put pressure on Celtic when the opportunities arise.
I was just going to say that the back, when you look at the second half of the season, it's not only Rangers, it's every other team. Celtic have gone the second half of the season undefeated. You look at the rest of the teams. Rangers lose their first game against Kilmarnock when they come back in the league, and then Kilmarnock dropped off. They had a period, I think they went 7 games without a win. Hibs were in a tailspin and come back. Aberdeen been inconsistent. So all the other teams at the top end of the table have struggled in the second half of the season, whereas Celtic are the ones where you've got to give them credit because they're undefeated.
The problem that Rangers will have is if they win the game at the weekend and take their eye off the ball, the bigger picture. Because the fact of the matter is, regardless, clearly it's a game you want to win, I get that, and in particular an Old Firm derby, but the bigger picture is Rangers without doubt. So I think it's a massive summer for both sides, I really do. But if you're looking at Rangers, they have to strengthen, and Craigs is right, 3 or 4 players to get into the team regardless of the result on Sunday.
Yeah. Neil Lennon mentioned the indiscipline problem Rangers have had this season, said they'll try and exploit that if they can. Of course, Alan McGregor is going to miss the game. This absolute madness at the end of last week. He's going to miss 3 matches, Ali.
Listen, Darryl, that's exactly what it is. I have got no idea what's going through Alan's head there. But we were speaking about it before we came in here. There's been signs all isn't right with Alan throughout the season. There's been kind of, not incidents as bad as that, I've got to tell you, but there's one or two wee issues where perhaps he's left a trailing leg in, or he's used his body to knock people down, and I don't know, it's clearly not good enough. But that's nothing, that's madness, and it is indiscipline. I mean, he's the number one goalkeeper, and he's missing the Old Firm game on the Sunday, which is totally unacceptable. And you could see, watching and listening to Steven Gerrard after it, I mean, he must be incredibly frustrated, stroke angry at one or two of his players letting their teammates down.
The thing is as well, it's not just one. I was just going to say, it's not just one or two, but it's two of his main performers. You know, you look at Alan McGregor in goals and Alfredo Morelos at the top end of the park, arguably two of his best players and two talisman of the side. That's the disappointment. If it's somebody that's on the fringes, you can perhaps come down a little bit harder on them. For the manager, he must be tearing his hair out thinking, how do I manage this situation? How do you get them to a standard where they're not going to be doing that and they're setting a better example? It's a difficult one.
Ali, there's talk of a Marseille bid coming in for Alfredo Morelos. That's been a rumour for a while, but given what happened in the last game, him being sent off, would you let him near this one? It
would have to depend on the offer, what the offer was. I'd have to say Defoe's come in and looked the part.
The balance has been good.
I've got to say he's come in, looked the part, got a run of games. I was always confident if he did get a run of games, he would look and score goals. That's certainly been the case. If the offer was good enough for Morelos, you'd have to think about it. But then again, you'd have to replace him as well.
You wouldn't want to jeopardise it in the meantime, that's for sure. If something is coming
you know what, from Celtic's point of view, this derby's pretty insignificant, though. I have to say, the eyes are on the treble.
Neil Lennon?
Yeah, absolutely, because he's won the league. It's job done. The focus now has to be on the cup final.
Yeah, but
against
if
Hearts.
they lost the Rangers game, then it's not going to help his cause.
It's a bounce match. There's no pressure.
Yeah,
the issue.
Never a bounce match.
Well, I'm telling you, it's a bounce match. The issue now is the likes of Kieran Tierney, who have had injury problems this season. He needs to. Why risk players? We've talked about fatigued players. Why risk them in a game which doesn't matter? He has to keep his big guns fit for the final. It doesn't matter this game.
That's a fair point, but the equally a fair point is that this is a big game for Neil Lennon in the context of getting the Celtic job.
I don't think so.
If he goes and loses the game at Ibrox, that is not going to help his cause.
I really don't think that will have any bearing. The fact of the matter is Neil Lennon had to get over the line in the league, and people are talking about, well, he needs the treble. The treble would probably cement him getting the job, and if that's the case, why would he risk his big players in a game which simply doesn't matter?